I was asked today to come along and talk about some of the use cases that we're working on in Deloitte, and we've got a number of proof of concept MVPs, sort of small test projects that we're doing with clients that I can't talk specifically about the work we're doing with the clients, obviously, but what I can do is talk about the technology and the platform that we've built that's powering all of those proof of concepts and minimum viable products that we have at the moment. Normally, when I do this demo, I've never been able to do this demo in like 20 minutes, which is all I've got, so I've cheated, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a video that presents the vision of the product that we've produced. I'm going to tell you how we got to the product that we produced, and then I'm going to show you it. And then, hopefully, that's 20 minutes. So, hang on, I can skip past that.
Kev, roll VT.
Who are you? Can I trust you? The importance of understanding who others are has been fundamental to human interaction for thousands of years. Yet despite all our technological advances, the way we prove our identity to others remains reliant on paper and plastic documents, physical contact, and handwritten signatures. As our lives become increasingly digital, these processes are becoming increasingly difficult and expensive to continue. Today, identity data is held by every organisation that a customer touches, and this snowballs when we engage with organisations online. Often, records are poorly integrated and information is out of date. This duplication is error-prone, inefficient, and presents potential security risks. Customers face frequent identity checks and are forced to share information from different sources with multiple organisations on an ongoing basis. What if there was a simpler way to manage identity? What if we could offer a solution that allowed both security and privacy? With a distributed identity platform, organisations in every industry can move away from disconnected, duplicated customer records towards a master identity record maintained directly by each user. For the first time, customers, organisations and things gain complete control of their digital identity and interact with each other directly. This is the vision behind Deloitte's blockchain smart identity platform. With a smart identity profile, users can upload and manage multiple different forms or attributes of identity. They can have their identity attributes endorsed and digitally signed by trusted third parties, like a passport or licensing authority, who can verify that the information provided is accurate. It's a secure system for individuals, companies, or even objects to share identity attributes with each other, whether you are an individual, a bank, airline, local council, or even a driverless car. Users can store and transfer smart assets and value between identities. Because identity allows you to control not just who you are, but also the things you own. Under your smart identity, you can store smart assets, representing anything from money to property, like your car. Then you can use the same identity to unlock your car, and if you decide that you don't need it anymore, ownership of the smart asset can be securely transferred or sold to other trusted users. At Deloitte, we are at the forefront of developing solutions supported by blockchain technology, and our smart identity platform will transform the way people control their identities, the way companies manage and verify data, and the way we will interact with the Internet of Things. The opportunities are vast. Automated compliance procedures mean that complex financial products can be instantly authorized. Alternative markets will open up, from peer-to-peer marketplaces to new forms of digital rights management, and our money is going digital too. This is the end of paper and plastic identity. This is the end of organizations and individuals having to duplicate and manage every identity. It's the end of broken identity. It's the start of transforming the way all of us live, work, connect, transact, and do business. It's a new and complete solution that uses new technology for the new economy. It's Deloitte's Smart Identity.
Boosh. Oh, crikey, you did warn me about the lights, actually. Right, so, I mean, more identity, eh? It's meant to be ScotChain. So I want to start by saying, first of all, we didn't set out to solve identity. And the reason I wanted to go through this was because as a lab, we kind of got sort of told to go on, have a look and see what we can do with this blockchain malarkey. And we looked at a number of things. I mean, first of all, nobody's ever solved a noun, right? So identity is not going to get solved. We've had a lot of stuff talked about today around the people side of it. And from my personal point of view, I really want people to be touching our system at the moment because they're messy. Technology works brilliant before you introduce people, right? So a lot of the back-end stuff that you can do with an asset register is actually pretty relevant. And use cases don't really become use cases until they're used. So as was just touched upon by Philippe, the less offensive, the less emotive processes that we can use it for are what we're seeing, the proof of concepts that we're developing out at the moment. So that's the sort of overall vision for it. And as you'll see from the next slide, I blew all the budget on that video, so we're having to reuse the graphics that Kent pointed out earlier on. So but it's important though, because I'm a big fan of Bitcoin, and I know it's a bit of a pariah, but it's kind of important because it's where all this started. And I would have a read of the white paper if you haven't. I'd make sure you understand things like proof of work. As cumbersome as it works. We've been using it for years. And so what we've got here is on the left-hand side, the old technology that's been around for ages, a new idea that came about by Satoshi, whoever he may be, and then future applications of what we can do once you actually start understanding the sort of profound impact of one ledger and one shared resource. We started getting a bit fascinated in these building blocks, and the blocktopus that Kent showed, this was the sort of the genesis of the blocktopus here. But fundamentally, once you understand what one ledger can do, you realize that it's more than just magic internet money, right? I mean, we've actually got an ability here to store assets and values, and as Kent said at the start, it's an internet of value, this, rather than an internet of information. So, quickly cracking through this, we started having a look at what the anatomy of a typical blockchain solution would be, and you'll have heard probably all of these phrases today, but we've got smart contracts as part of it, decentralized apps, which was sort of coined by Ethereum, which is just an app which is decentralized, digital assets, and then the digital identity. The challenge we had with Bitcoin was that it got a lot of bad press because, like cash, if it's really easy to use, then criminals can use it, and therefore it must just be criminals that are using it, right? Like cash in Sweden. So we kind of thought, well, okay, well, that's fair enough. We can use it to an extent. And by the way, you can track Bitcoin. You just don't necessarily know who the owner of it is. And we looked at the idea of smart contracts and how we can integrate them. And there was that realization of, well, actually, if we can combine these two things, or combine an identity with an attested verification of what it is, now, whether that's a person, livestock, a driverless car, a stock, it doesn't matter. As long as we can have it attested and verified this is what it says it is, then we can actually start making some pretty big leaps in what we can actually do with the technology. And you'll have heard things in the press about business process elimination and words like that, which are actually all possible. The technology in this is easy, by the way. It's the organizational, legal, and business challenges that are the things that cause us all the problems. So right now, we've got this situation where we've got, on the left, this multitude of identities stored. I mean, even talking on a personal level, you know, if you think about how many versions of you there are out there, Google's got an idea who you are, your bank's got an idea, Facebook's got an idea. Even within your own control, you've probably got numerous personas that you use. You'll have a work email where you speak a certain way. You'll have a personal email that you communicate with your friends and family. You might even have a secret email for the internet that you use to maybe abuse Katie Hopkins on the Daily Mail message boards, right? But we all do it. So the idea being that if we can actually, I mean, it's kind of funny because we talk about the decentralized platform, but if we can centralize the ownership of identity and the thing which is the thing owns that identity, then it just makes life a hell of a lot easier. So that's what we tried to set out to solve or create. It's called smart identity. As I said, I don't really like the word identity. It makes everyone think of themselves, and actually it's about an asset. We're all assets. We're all possible liabilities on Friday nights, but we're all a thing that is accounted for by someone at some point, and we can add value and whatnot. Within the structure of the smart identity, we've got what you'd expect to see, attributes. So you've got things that you would use to attest that it's you. And I'm not talking about proof of memory like a password. I'm talking about your driver's license, which has been given to you by the DVLA, or your passport, or your birth certificate, or your work pass, or one of these things that gets you in. And the more of these things that we can allow people or things to store about themselves and have attested, the more likely that thing is to be the thing it claims it is. So we've got endorsements in there, as I say. We've got assets in there. One of the brilliant things about Ethereum, which is what we've built this on, is this concept of account and this concept of key pairs. So you can start adding bits into the blockchain more than just a hash. And that's actually extraordinarily powerful. And the last part of it is the sort of the apps side of it. Before I move on to the thing that the actual demo part of it, we kind of took this from a concept in January to, I mean, we pretty much hacked it together. We launched it at Consensus in New York in May as really a proof of concept. And since May, we've been building it out. We're on our 8th sprint now. It's been hardened off, and I can tell you today that we are open sourcing it. We announced it yesterday internally. We have a GitHub, which I'll put up at the end. I checked the GitHub this morning for any of you geeks out there, and I can see folk reaching for phones. There wasn't anything on it this morning, but I'll get that sorted really quick, right? So there's a saying which I like, which is, it's amazing what you can achieve when you don't care who takes the credit, and that's how I want to push this forward. If we can open this up and let everyone use it, interestingly enough, we've got 2 or 3 tech startups, or fintech startups if you want to call them that, asking can we build out the next version of our product on it. So that's exactly why we've done it. We'd love everyone to use it, but there are numerous platforms out there. Quick overview of the thing I'm going to take you through, and it's for Know Your Customer. This actually is interesting for Know Your Customer and anti-money laundering, and even more so when you start looking at Know Your Customer's customer, which is fascinating. If you ever sit and look at that process, it's immensely complicated. And in my view, personally, I don't think that Bank B can definitely know Bank A's customer's customer. They can follow the process and prove that they've done all the stuff that they need to do to demonstrate that they've done everything they can to do so, but you don't really know in most cases. So I'll run through this and I'll actually show you the demo. So the idea being, customer comes along and sets up an identity on this case, it's the Ethereum blockchain, but it can be any. It's then forwarded to, so if we take the example of a driver's license, it's then forwarded to the DVLA. They'll say, yes, that's the guy down our record that it says it is, and they send it back. That's one. Then you just keep adding more and more and more on. So when I go to take out a loan or a mortgage, and the bank says, I need your passport, and you think, well, that's amazing, because I'm sure my passport's the thing I use to let me travel around the world, not to get a mortgage. But it's just one of the tools that we've got that are allowed by the regulator as part of that process. What they really want to know is, are you going to be able to pay the loan back? When are you likely to die? Hopefully before you pay the loan back. And where do you live? Where's this thing we're going to co-own until you've paid it off? And there was someone talked earlier on about the examples of, I think it was Christopher, about the when you hand over your driver's license, someone asks you for an ID in a bar, and you show your driver's license to prove you're over 18. Well, they've now got your name and home address. And that's not brilliantly secure as far as I'm concerned. So wouldn't it be better if you could say, are you over 18? Yes, it's been attested by the DVLA, or whoever it might be. Accept it. So next, this is the actual demo. Now, Kev, you can roll this. Well, as I say, I've cheated, right? Because sometimes when you're doing things live, things don't go to plan. And as you'll see in some of this, Kev's actually going to try and fast forward a couple of bits of it because when it's uploaded into the blockchain, it can take a couple of minutes, you know, and I've only got about 8 left. So I can talk over this. This is me setting up the demo, and all I was doing in here was setting up various attributes for the next part, which we're going to go into, which is someone actually setting up an identity, having it attested, and ensuring that with their bank. In this bit here, I'm setting up a passport and passport fields. This is just really to show the back end of how simple it is. Everyone's used to using these types of systems where you'd say, right, what am I going to create? Putting it in. So now we're going to start creating an identity for David A. Jones, Davy Jones. And God, this is difficult actually. It's a lot easier when you're actually sitting, typing and going through all this than actually talking over a demo, but I'll rabbit on whilst bits happen. So this is the bit we're going to hopefully skip a little bit because it takes about 40 seconds. Click. Any minute now, it's going to load up. Yes, right. So you can see up the top there, we've got a digital identity created for Davy Jones. It's obviously really easy to remember. Remember, in blockchain world, we're kind of like the internet before we got browsers at the moment. So at the moment, he's got a digital identity, which if you can remember, ended 947C. He's going to upload a picture of himself, because we all like to do that. There he goes, Davy Jones. Obviously, his priority is getting his photo on there rather than his attributes. But actually, the photo is part of the attribute, I suppose, if you want to look at it that way. But again, irrelevant to me taking out a mortgage. So in any minute, that's going to have uploaded itself to the Ethereum blockchain. Aye, go for it, Kev. Thank you. It's been added on there. You can see his picture. So what we've got now is we've got a digital identity sitting on the Ethereum blockchain with an image on it, and no one knows whether it's Davy Jones or not because he's just said it is, and we've got to take his word for it. First thing he's going to do is upload a passport. He's an American. Luckily, he's already got a scan of his passport because he's been dealing with his advisor, and they needed one for a previous mortgage application. And this is first generation, really. There's other bits and pieces we're building into this, but for the purposes of the demo, he's rekeyed some of the information as well. Obviously, there's image recognition and OCR and things like that where we can pull it in. But there we go. He's keyed in these details. He's now got a digital identity on Ethereum, which has got his picture on it and it's got his passport on it. But again, we still don't really know if it's him or not. It's just some guy that stuck some data up on the web, on the blockchain. What he's going to do now is share it with a company called WeVerify, which could be the passport office, maybe, if that was the better name for it. He's shared it with them. Passport office is logging in just now, or sorry, WeVerify is logging in just now. And you go. And as you can see, they've got a little inbox message there saying, look, someone's asked you to do something. And that's their digital identity at the top. I'll come back to that. We're going to go forward in the world, and we're going to have something that's better than that for storing it. Whether it's biometrics or whether it's drop-down lists that we had in the olden days. But it's very difficult at the moment to remember your personal, your public keys, never mind your private keys. So, there are hurdles that we're going through at the moment, but the system still works if you're willing to work around copying and pasting. So they've looked at this. They've seen that it is what it is, and they're endorsing it. Now, they're putting endorsement on it for a limited period of time. Interestingly enough, when we've showed this to banks and things before, they've said, well, actually, can we charge for endorsements? Well, maybe you can. I would rather that if you were charging for an endorsement, you charge the person that's asking for the endorsement, not the human. But it's an option. We're building it out. They've endorsed it. They're happy to say that, yes, that is Davy Jones. We've got access to his passport and his driver's license. We know that's him. So they've endorsed it, and then they send it back to Davy so that he's now got, there's his public key again, as you saw, ending 47C. They'll send it back to him. We'll log back out. Yeah, come on. We're logging out any minute. There we go. Right, so we're logged out and we're logged back in as Davy Jones, okay? Amazing what you can do in a demo. And now, as you can see, he's got his avatar, he's got his passport. He clicks on his passport, and guess what? Scroll down a bit. God, I should have remembered how I actually ran the demo. You're going to see any minute he's going to click on it, and he's going to see that he's actually got, there we go, endorsement, verification completed successfully. So now he's got a digital identity on the Ethereum blockchain with two attributes on it. He's got his photo, he's got his passport, and he's had his passport endorsed by WeVerify. Now he needs to send it to the bank, which, as you saw there, he copied and pasted the bank's public key from his little copy and paste board, and he's sending it over to the bank because the bank have said, we need access to your passport so we can give you a mortgage. I'm probably just going to kill it there, right? Because what happens now is we now log in as the bank, they have a look at it, and you're just going to see the same thing over and over again. But the reason I wanted to show this is because we've seen a lot of talk about what we can do in identity. We've actually built it out because the only way we can, thanks, Kev. Thanks, Kev. The only way we can test out whether these things are going to work is to release it and let people test it and use it out. And as I say, we've got a number of use cases on the go at the moment. Admittedly, most of them are financial services or Deloitte. Admittedly, most of them in KYC and AML and KYCC. We've got use cases we're looking at in livestock. In fact, tell you what, I'll click on to the next one. Provenance tracking on that. You go and buy your lasagna and you can scan the back and see that actually this is cow meat, and actually this cow came from Aberdeen, and actually it wasn't fed GM products. All these things are future applications of it. We've got diamonds on there. You'll have seen Everledger have got the diamond product. Our team in Holland have developed a warranty application. That's actually on the CallU blockchain stack. But all we're doing here at the moment is just trying to learn what we can do with the technology. And as R3 are brilliantly doing, is pulling everyone together. the consortium approach, as far as I'm concerned, is definitely the way forward. And whether it's a consortium officially or whether we actually open source it as we're doing and we get a bunch of people coming to us and using it and deploying it with their clients, I don't really care. I just want actually for people to use the product. So that was quite good. I rattled through that quicker than I thought, but I just wanted to leave a few sort of thoughts on what we do with it next. Well, first of all, like what's happened with Bitcoin, there was technologies already out there, and the clever thing that Nakamoto did was pull it all together. That's what we're trying to do now in Deloitte. We've built this as one of our numerous products. The next one we'll be launching is most likely to be in insurance, as Kent said, using the software we've already built and the asset attestation register. We obviously want to then bolt on additional things to that, and the idea being that you take this as part of a suite of technologies to produce one product, which is exactly what happened with Bitcoin. And I go back to that point that I made before, that it's amazing what you can achieve when you don't take the credit, because that is kind of the point in this. As everyone's said so far, there's only so much fun you can have with your own blockchain, which, consider yourself plagiarized on that, Tom. I'm going to say that in the office on Monday. But there's only so much you can do with it unless everyone's using it. It's one ledger. We've all got one database, but if everyone's using the one database, then it becomes effectively, one shared source of truth. And one other thing, that's just because we've been doing a lot of talk about identity, when I planned all this out, I didn't realize there was going to be so much talk of it. But there's a guy called Dave Birch that's got a book called Identity is the New Money, which is a useful read, because when we've been developing this out, I've got quite friendly with him, and his brilliant point is, well, that's all very well, but what happens under a witness protection program? And I take him back to my original point, which is, I'd rather we don't have humans using this yet. The next step is back-end processing. That's where we're seeing most of our use cases and POCs being deployed. It's relatively inoffensive. It's not as emotive. I mean, there's been some brilliant things put out there. The DWP were suggesting doing benefits on the blockchain. And you kind of go, well, in theory, it makes great sense, but it kind of feels a wee bit fascist, doesn't it? So the minute you start involving people, things just become a little bit messy. We will get there, but we've got to start tackling the back-end processes first. So if you can understand that, in this example, we've got an asset register which is attested, and therefore it is what it says it is. If you can think of applications in your business where you need to use that type of technology, then come and give us a shout. As I say, we've just agreed to open source it with the firm, so if you get onto deloitte.co.uk/smartidentity, that'll link you up to the GitHub. I hope that there's stuff on it by the weekend, because we've got a lot of things to upload, but the rest of the team are over in Lisbon at the Web Summit at the moment, so we're rather busy. That's all.